Welcome to the Fight for Your Health TV show. I am Richard Hackworth here with our host, Professor Buitron, and we have a special guest today, Jerry Fast Feet Fontanez. And I'm very excited about this guest because he's kind of someone that I consider a mentor. I follow his advice, I follow his social media, and this guy gives away more free advice than anybody I've seen, just trying to help people. And what I respect the most about him is the fact that he walks his talk. He leads by example. He's not throwing out theory and conjecture. He has done everything that he recommends for you to do. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say today.
You know, and you're absolutely correct. And to have Jerry here and to explain to him, you see, in the martial arts, as well as names stand out in different areas. And Jerry's name, he's been standing out for a very long time. Just like Raymond McCullum in Texas and some of the others that are there, they were the ones that lived it. They were the ones that were out there. Sal Narvaez from South Texas. You had John Natividad, Frank Trejo from California. These are the men that were the icons of those areas where a lot of young martial artists came up looking to them and admiring them, and they're still doing it. And that is the beauty of this. And number one, thank you for being here, Jerry. And we'd love to hear your story and tell us a little bit about the forgotten work of the martial artist, which is conditioning.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate those kind words. And the fact of the matter is that I really believe that it's our duty today to make the most out of today, because they call it the present, as we know, because it's a gift. So I do not take this for granted that we're here today, get an opportunity to interconnect with people and share information that hopefully will trigger people to start taking action. Because knowledge without action is like, I think it's biblical. You got to be able to take action in order for it to really make things work. So one of the biggest challenges that I noticed that has been happening is that today, in a variety of sports, including martial arts, in terms of physicality, there's what would be more talent, per se, the ability to do things. However, I heard that fatigue makes a coward out of everyone. Fatigue makes a coward out of everyone. So if you think about in hierarchy, what's more important? You can live, if you had to, for weeks without food, for days without water, but only minutes without oxygen. So oxygen is the key to everything. The reason why our blood has quality is based on the oxygen flow. And most people don't realize that the diaphragmatic breath is how you get maximum oxygen intake. It's right now October, and I'm in the Bronx, New York City, and I'm looking forward to when it gets cold, because I will be out there at least 3 times a week with no shirt on, working on my skin to develop my immune system, things that we've seen Asians do for many years when they're under, a waterfall and what have you. People think, and they say, hey, este está loco, he's crazy, what is he doing? And what I'm doing is using our God-given skin that we never had a blueprint on how to use it. So that's the same thing. Everything interconnects together, and it comes down to whoever has a skill set equivalent to another person that has better conditioning, whether it's mental, physical, financial, spiritual, what have you, that means they have a better possibility, better chances of defeating the other person, even though in actuality, we all really do know that it's the challenge within ourselves, which is the self-discipline. We know what we should do, but why aren't we doing it? And it's miraculous when I think about today how there's tools to make things actually easier in one aspect of it, but there's nothing like going down to the floor and doing some push-ups. You don't need to go to the gym for that, but having the discipline to do that. And what's wonderful that nowadays you do have a handful of people that are still walking the talk, and those people literally are what I consider the true mentors, the true legends, because they're in their 70s and 80s and still leading by example. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's always been the key, guys. If you think about it, whoever's in better physical shape has a better chance physically. If you're in better mental shape, and you physically can't do it, that's not going to help too much. So you have to have the combination of your spirit. Now you know the mental part of it, but and what would be your physical part is there, but you don't have, if you choke or drown in a cup of water, of water. So the combination of all three, but one does not, if you do not have the physicality, there's no way in life you're going to be able to meet people. I apologize if it I might have froze there for a second. I apologize. Sometimes the reception in the Bronx is not the best, but hopefully you guys did hear what I said. But yeah, that's the edge.
Absolutely. And um, being being in the ring, fighting in the ring, and as well as in competition, conditioning, road work, your oxygen has a lot to do with it. Some people go in there, they might have the best jab, the best kicks, but if they don't have the oxygen, sorry, you're gonna powder off real quick. And let's talk about the conditioning, how you condition your guys, especially those that are going to compete. Let's talk about
So I have to say that I'm a cheater. And what I mean by I'm a cheater is I looked at aspects of other sports that really made things happen. We have fast twitching muscles. Because remember, when we're sparring, there's a combination of a few things that's happening. We have aerobic and we have anaerobic. And the anaerobic is what's going to take the person out. So speed to action is important. So sprinting is something that, well, nowadays you see people cross training. And cross training has really been the secret throughout the years. And when you're doing forms and you're doing sparring and you're doing weapons and you're doing self defense, you're really cross training, for whatever it's worth. Martial arts has that or intertwined. But one of the things that I've always had as a secret is I separate the body parts, very similar to Mike Stone, a very good friend of ours, again, another Hawaiian there. But Mike Stone separated the body, right? Being able to separate the body. So when I do my kicks, I teach all my people how to kick while laying down first to isolate the muscles that you're using when you're actually throwing that kick. So if you're throwing the front kick, you're using your quads, and you're also using some of your gluteus maximus, of course, when you tense. So what I've always done is I literally, and I'm saying cheating because I didn't think too many people were teaching this. Anytime you throw a kick or a punch, all you're really doing is squeezing the trigger, aligning, and that increases the possibility that you're going to hit center mass, right? So that's a shooting concept, but of course, that's why it works. And so my students learn how to kick from the ground. If you're doing 100 kicks isolated, that's like doing concentration curls, meaning that you're really developing those muscles. We do it laying down first, and then we do it with partners, and then we do them in slow motion. So my nickname Fast Feet, which my mother gave it to me on September 18th, 1981. So that was the day I was labeled Fast Feet. And it's because I got home, I said, Mom, I want to have a nickname. Dr. J was my favorite basketball player. She said, Fearless Fast Feet. I said, Mom, the last name Fontanez is going to make fun of me. I'll make sure I'll always be fearless, but I'll use first name Fast, last name Feet. So people assume that that's only for kicking. But footwork is the next thing. Without footwork, oh my God, so the best block in the world is not being there. So I do rounds of footwork also in addition to my students when it comes to kicking and footwork. Now, I also do flexibility on a whole different level because I align the body as opposed to disalign the body. And that's why we have so many people with knees, hips, and back injuries. So I work kinesiology into what we'll be training, me thinking that everybody was doing the same thing. I developed most of these things at age 16 years old when I became a so-called professional fighter, when I got my first dollar, when I competed. And so footwork is part of the conditioning. You can do road work also. However, when you get older, there's a way to change the road work. You still do the road work, but you do it in intervals. You do it with anaerobic sprinting. You increase your heart rate. So this thing I didn't invent it. Of course, high intensity interval training, is that important? Absolutely, because the older we get, the more wear and tear we have in our body. So when people start jogging for what would be a sprint fight, sometimes it's not really the best thing. However, if you're doing rounds of sprinting, then you get a chance to recuperate, get the heart rate as high as possible, and then bring it down because that's what's going to make you explode again. So again, I think I cheated because throughout the years, my people have been in a little better condition than most because I use a concept of universal arts and it wasn't just for martial, if that makes any sense.
Sure, sure, sure. And that's what people need to understand is that conditioning is one part, and the different people learn the conditioning because of experience, just like you did. You started seeing, you started observing, started saying, you know what, that works over there. It has to work for me over here. So you brought it over, and
I
it
wanted to
changed.
win. I wanted to win. So I wanted to teach things that worked. One thing
Absolutely.
guaranteed that if you're doing a workout and you throw 1,000 kicks in a workout, you can throw 1,000 kicks that literally have the disalignment and make things worse for you. Or you can throw 1,000 kicks from what would be aligning your body properly. And I love the fact, and I had a wonderful conversation before this with you and I. We spoke about Savat as an example, and that's one of the probably the one of the biggest um, horrible misconceptions that martial arts is not just Asian. You know, it's from everywhere in the world. And
Absolutely.
part of the mindset of Savat, when you see Bruce Lee throw a kick, his hands up and he's throwing his around his body, his leg into what would be a sword, and keeping his self as a minimal target. So I've been doing that for many years in point karate, and it really comes from the foundation of what I saw that was working in all arts.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're correct. It's that misconception that everything comes from one side, which we're finding out the truth that it actually came from the, I would say, the West going to the East and the East coming to the West.
It's fascinating because, but it really doesn't matter to me because I love it all. Right? That's why in our school we bow and then we salute. And I said, hey, the reason we bow and salute is because in Asia you bow to your superior officer, marshal being military, but we're in America, so we're doing the salute to make sure we have the yin and the yang, the completion, and that's what I
Absolutely.
believe.
You know, and what this is what I tell people, a fighter, a true fighter, a fighter, the one that trains for it as part of life. If he sees something that works and he saw somebody get in a fight across the street and he saw that technique work, I guarantee you that he's going to go back home and he's going to try it until he makes it work for himself. That's what fighters do. So they pick and choose. Names are irrelevant when the fact. It's when that picking and choosing and that cross training and that cross the cultures mix. That's when you start getting the true fighters. That's what happened in the States, just like you and the others that we mentioned before. They had all this melting together, the Korean arts, the Japanese arts, the Chinese arts, coming in here doing all this stuff, and then the American tenacity of boxing, and they put it all together, and boom, you have.
Hey, listen, you're 100% correct. Now, if I'm teaching somebody, and again, I love to win. I don't mind losing because I learned from that, and my biggest lessons have been losing, but I love to win. So I'm gonna move towards type of person. And if I want to show so when I'm teaching someone, I want to know what's their natural attributes. And if they tell me they play basketball, oh, that means they have a footwork on a whole other level already. They know how to do lateral footwork. They know how to fake and reposition, get behind get behind their heel, and get out of the line of fire. They know that already. If they play football, then they have some other concepts of it's offensive defense. So I take people's what would be trained or natural tendencies and then customize it for what would be sport. There's
Absolutely.
no difference between. It's so interesting because today, if you think about it, we fight in point karate with our hands down, quite often the shoulder up, and people say, "How can you do that?" In the meantime, supposedly, you know, Floyd Mayweather is supposed to be the best fighter of all time, and he's standing like a point karate guy, hiding behind the shoulder all of a sudden. It's pretty interesting to see how the physicality changes or the angles or so on and so forth. Or if we ask Mike Tyson, who his role model was, he says Bruce Lee of all people, and it's crazy. Or when you think about the style of Kaju Kembo, hey, these are 5 different elements put all together in the ghettos of what would be Hawaii, and they were going into rooftops and back alleys to develop this conglomeration of stuff that worked. So it's always been
Absolutely.
around.
You're absolutely correct. You know, people look at boxing. Let's just look at boxing. Everybody around the world can throw a jab, cross, uppercut, and a hook. But there's so many styles. That style that you're talking about with a slide back with point karate when you're back here, it's called the Philly shell. It came out of Philadelphia and
Right.
so you have that kind of in the Northeast, that type of fighting. The Italians had the other type, and the Puerto Ricans have another type of fighting as well. And you have the Mexicans have a different type of fighting over here as well. So then you have the peekaboo, like Mike Tyson, that was taught also from that area. So all these elements started springing up where it came out the different cultures were there, the stronger elements of it. And people say, no, it really didn't. Actually look at it, study it, look at the way it is.
Yeah,
That's why America is #1 in boxing.
well, that's the whole thing. That what you just said is absolutely true. But the only thing that I could probably say is that if you speak to someone from Detroit, they'll call it the Detroit something else because because everyone wants to identify with me. And then if you look at Bruce Lee's book, that's called a universal. He's in a universal position, reverse universal, I should say. And to me, I called it, I called it the universal because, but regardless, it's effective. Call it what you want. A punch to the face. What is it called? Yakazuki or un puño en la cara, kind of messed up. Call it what you want. It's something that, a snuff, whatever it is. So I think people sometimes get caught up also on that divide and conquer separation of what the origin of the stuff, where it doesn't really matter in the world of walking down the street and getting home safe. I mean,
Absolutely.
getting home safe.
I was told this by an old professor, and he was he fought in the French Vietnam. And he goes, what matters is if you can teach your students to leave the house and come back home at night. That's all that matters.
Get home safe.
And I was 20 something years old, and I was around these legends, and I was like, you know what? That is the truth. Because what matters is, did I make it home safe at night? That's it.
It's interesting because a lot of times culture kills you. And what I mean by that is the reason why a lot of us do not have better health habits is because literally, I'm not sure, I'm still here. Okay. The reason why most of us don't have better health habits is because culturally we're eating things that our parents and grandparents ate. And throughout the years, sometimes we end up eating diabetes and we eat high blood pressure and we even eat asthma. We eat what would be acid-based food, and acid-based foods creates havoc in your body. We need alkaline food, and alkaline food really comes from the soil, even though the soil has been contaminated in so many different ways. So going back to Eden, I tell people in Eden there wasn't a slaughterhouse. There wasn't a slaughterhouse in Eden, So it was based on the foods that your body, and even when we eat, generally speaking, when we do have animals, we don't eat animals who are carnivorous. We eat vegetarians. And when you look at the animal kingdom, when a lion goes after an animal, it goes right for their stomach to get the nutrition. So that's a common denominator. So to me, I believe that martial arts is also the quality of your health. But now there's also another thing that in recent days I've really been focusing on because it's the main reason why people don't have a high quality life. Well, we never was taught financial self-defense. How about some financial self-defense? How will we be able to have our finances take care of us? So I'm literally in the totality of helping people's life, not just the physical attributes, but everything from finances to flexibility to footwork to fitness to fun. Because having fun means that endorphins in your body now are popping and you're actually happy. The opposite is true. When you're sad, then your body makes cortisol and a whole bunch of other negative things that you don't want in your body. And that's the reason why, if there was ever a time to be happy and positive and focus on possibility, is now, because people's immune system being compromised in every aspect. The fear factor will create more damage than just about anything. Wake up, laugh. Laughing is healing. I laugh at myself every day.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Everything that you're saying, I'm in agreement with. And people out there need to understand that there's a lot more to martial arts than just punching and kicking. Okay. There's a lot more benefits out there You know, besides the fellowship, besides life, besides setting goals, there everybody's there to help you. Okay.
And that's the truth. We do have a world international, which I'm being redundant, community. And that fellowship, see, it's just sad when I do see people at what would be the entry level, where they work on divide and conquer, not even realizing they're part of what would be the plan to keep us separated. And that's in every aspect of the world, because all of us have two legs, two arms, and we're human race. We're the martial arts community. The style separation means nothing to me personally, except for something to avoid. I want to avoid what would be separation and ridicule. I love when I started seeing techniques that was circular with the head down, and we saw that it was called capoeira. I'm like, wow, that looks cool too. Like that. Oh, I don't care what style of martial arts it is. To me, I love it all. One thing that I've never been able to do that I've seen in some forms is kissing their toes. Imagine being able to be so flexible you can kiss your own toe. I mean, we've seen stuff like that. We've seen people who do finger push-ups like this. I mean, even right now with the internet, we really get a chance to see some incredible stuff. Men who look almost 100 years old that are still doing things that a child can't do. And that's like the superhero possibility of what would be a martial artist. And I'm 10 years old. To me, I'm 5 and 5, could be 55, or it could be 10. And my role model was Jack LaLanne. So I asked people, what would Jack LaLanne do at your age? You know what I'm saying? There's a Jack LaLanne in martial arts that happens to be presently sick, but he's fighting it, and he's from right there in Texas, and he's written more books than any other martial artist that I've ever seen. So I might have to go to plan next. But anyway, um, the gentleman that's in, yeah, my internet went bad for a second. Sorry about that. The gentleman um,
In Texas.
in Texas. Do you know who I'm talking about? His body was always incredible to this very day. He takes a picture every year. I believe he's close to 80 right now, and he's oh my god, how am I going blank? Maybe breakfast could have helped today. But Ted, his name is Ted, isn't it Ted? And he's an Italian. Oh my god, I'm going. How can I go blank on his name right now?
Was he a
And,
bodybuilder?
yeah, bodybuilder also. Martial artist teaching grappling. One of the first ones to have grappling. I'm gonna find his name right. Oh my God, how can I go blank? And I interviewed him recently. This is one of my favorite people. And I'm going. It's almost like forgetting Ray McCallum's name. You know, it's that crazy. But yeah, it's Ted. Hold on a second. Oh my God, I can't believe this. But anyway, yeah, Ted Gambardella. Ted Gambardella. That man's body has always been pristine. He was one of the first people to actually be ripping phone books and all types of, he's done all the power stuff. And I always look at him as what would be the Jack LaLanne in martial arts in one capacity or another because he looks so well. But he recently got sick also, right? And what I mean by sick is that he has a condition that a lot of people have passed away from. But I believe if anyone's going to be able to go through it, it's him. A lot of our martial arts friends right now are sick, quite a few. And they got fourth stage and third stage of an illness that's horrible. So when I hear about things like that, it just reinforces why I live the lifestyle that I live in terms of preventing illness. Instead of therapy, I'd rather do prevention. Prevention is better than therapy.
Absolutely. You know, and there's a lot of them out there, and our prayers go to them and their families. And believe me, this last 2 years has been detrimental to the martial arts. A lot of old schools that were around 20, 30 years are no longer around. They closed. It's unfortunate. But we're the ones that are out there teaching people not to fear, and people are fearing more and more. And we have to just stay up there and say, you know what? Let's live life, enjoy, be careful. We have to live and move forward.
Hey, I'm in complete concert with that. People get confused because I put videos and they don't know if they're from years ago or now. Because for whatever it's worth, for example, our joints are made of cartilage. Cartilage needs to have what would be collagen to be able to function properly. We start losing collagen the older we get in our 20s. Well, that being the case, we have to supplement our body with what would be collagen. And there's different levels and quantities of these different things. But I got into nutrition in the 1980s because I was born as a sick child. I had 5 pneumonias by the age of 2. And my first 2 birthdays were in the children's ward in Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. So I believe that if my nutrition was better than my competition, I had an edge on them. I also believe that if I had more intelligence, meaning strategy, then I had an edge on them too. Because I couldn't take the physical attributes and make that my strength. So my so-called strengths was, they don't know, but inside, I'm in better health. I knew what to eat the night before a tournament. I knew what to eat that morning of the tournament. And I followed the regimen of what would be runners. So the night before, for 2 days, I used to carbo load, so my body created more long-term sugar. And then in the morning, all I had was bananas to eliminate lactic acid buildup to be able to perform better. And most people still don't know the basics to this very day. And that was back in the 1980s.
And you're absolutely correct, because a lot of folks, but they go into competition, they understand it, they understand the nutrition, but they have to understand that the lactic acid is what builds you in there. And if you do not have the relaxation of being in there, forget about it. You're going to end up getting lactic acid. Your oxygen is going to run out. Period. There's something I'm going to talk about Savat. And when I was part of the French team in France back in the 90s, my trainer was Richard Sela, a living legend. You can look him up. Richard Sela was the one that brought Savat into the kickboxing realm. He's the one that took out Peter Cunningham. Okay, so he came in, and he used to say, "You all are so tight. Quit being tight. Be relaxed." He goes, "That oxygen is going through your veins, and if you're tightened up, guess what? Your lactic acid is just going to chew it up." And to me, I never really figured it out. And then one time, a doctor comes in, and I don't want to bore people, but there's another great. His name was Francois Pinocchio, and they did a blood, they blood pressure and everything else on everybody. And Francois Pinocchio's blood pressure was the same when he started, 10 rounds into 20, and at the end, he was just smooth as could be, as relaxed as could be, and everybody else was kind of, doing this type of number. And when you look at that, that's what you mean by being calm and being inside. He became world champion. He became everything else. And that's what people need to understand about relaxation.
Okay, so that's phenomenal because in every form of everything, negotiating a multi-million dollar deal, you know, being able to handle that pressure, right? So pressure makes us, right? That's what makes a diamond a diamond. But
Yep.
it's handling that pressure, and it has to do with diaphragmatic breathing. If you breathe in your chest or in your throat, you're limited the oxygen even to your brain. A singer uses diaphragmatic breath to hit these notes to bounce off the walls and project their voice.
Sure.
Oxygen is key. When I'm sparring with people, I fake them, I reposition, and I get them in between breaths. I hit them in between breathing because it doesn't matter who you are. If you get your wind knocked out of you, you are done. But in terms of relaxation, dancing. See, I come from the Bronx, so we have been dancing for years, right? So relaxation and dancing is one of the keys to what would be
Absolutely.
oxygen
Absolutely.
flow, time and tempo, rhythm, and it's all part of the whole fine thing. And that, plus it makes it kind of cool when you're walking in the ring. The crowd likes that too. But it's really where if he was fighting and his heart rate never increased, is because he wasn't fighting, he was flowing and experiencing. So when you have some of us have had out of body experiences where you're watching yourself do things, but you can do that more often than not once you develop the what would be giving into when you give into the truth. The truth is your body does the kicks and punches, and the training was done, and you're able to respond naturally because you're conditioning. If you're trying to throw the punch or a kick, you're gonna tense up and you're never gonna hit the target. But if you let it flow, the flow is what happens in everything. Have you ever seen a basketball player not miss and just shoot and shoot? He's flowing. It's him versus the basket. It has nothing to do with the people around him. They just happen to be there. So
Yep.
so when a gentleman turns around and is hitting people and his heart rate doesn't go up, is because his body took over and he trusted his body to do what was necessary to keep himself safe and enjoy the whole process. The body does the kicks and punches, and people do opposite. They try so hard. A beginner, whoa, whoa, take it easy. Take it easy. When you take it easy, everything starts to flow, and when things start to flow, you're safe. Otherwise, you can give yourself a heart attack.
Absolutely. You know that, you're absolutely correct. And I like what you said, I come from the Bronx. It's all about dancing. Another great Puerto Rican fighter was Macho Camacho, and look at the way he moved.
Yeah, well, again,
If you
rest,
don't,
rest in peace to him and him. We knew each other. Look, and again, I'm not bragging. I'm just saying the fact. In the 1980s in New York City, there was three people that were known for fighting. Two of them were boxers. One was a martial artist. So we had this guy from Spanish Harlem, where Barrio, where I'm originally from, Hector Macho Camacho, and then we had this guy from Brooklyn, that was up in the Catskills named Mike Tyson, and then you had this kid named Fast Feet as my so-called character. Not Jerry Fontanez, Fast Feet, because that's what was the nickname that was out there. And I knew that I started making some form of impact when I had arguments where people said that Jerry Fontanez could be Fast Feet, and they thought it was two separate people because I always competed in national tournaments, but also competed in the dungeons. But I was also Fasty of the Rock City crew, which was a top dancing crew. To this very day, I represent hip hop to the fullest because it's part of my culture. So there's two cultures I'm part of: is martial arts and hip hop. To the point where Bruce Lee was hip hop before hip hop. All that flavor that he did. Come on, you can't get funkier than that. Literally, I sit on the board of the Hip Hop Boulevard, and one of the categories for what would be given awards is martial arts. I got it into there because I asked him. I say, who was influenced by Bruce Lee? Everybody. The reason you see Grand Master this and the DJ and Master that is from the martial arts movies. So hip hop is martial arts, an expression of an art. And now you take the dancing and you take the gymnastics and you take what would be the martial arts, and now it's going to the Olympics in France, in Paris. Breaking, so-called breakdancing is going there, and
absolutely,
I'm one of the
absolutely,
forefathers combining all three.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and you guys can probably bring in capoeira too with because they had a huge influence at that time frame. Then
Well, a
remember
lot
that?
of the moves they're doing it.
Yep, yep. Remember that movie? What was it called?
Oh,
Rooftops.
yeah, rooftops and
Exactly.
only the strong. So rooftops and only the strong had Mark Dacascos in that movie also, right? Which is Al's son and Malaya, who I also interviews.
Sure.
Yeah, there's no question about it.
My, my, my wife's a capoeirista. She's a professor in capoeira. I
There
tell the
you
kids,
go.
you guys have to go inside. You have to learn. Because
The centrifugal force. Whaba! Oh my God. See again, art is beautiful.
yeah,
I do not really honestly lean towards anyone in particular because anytime you get deep into any art, you realize that it's so similar to other ones. It comes back to the
absolutely,
same thing. They just got different names for the same things. It's like,
absolutely.
and it works.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we lost our brother Richard, you know, on the internet somewhere. But that give us one thing for people to live by for next week, you know, because this is you know it comes out on Friday, and for them to think about on the weekend, and for them to try it out, something motivational for them to do in their martial arts.
Well, let me tell you something right now. Please understand this, that literally you can get better. See, people think that their best was in the past. No, 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 no. The only reason why we get old is because we only think about the past. The present is today. What would happen if today you gave it the approach as if you was a white belt with the same enthusiasm and passion and desire as a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed little kid? Chances are that you want to really be. See, if you ask anybody, what do you want to be when you grow up? Some people forgot what it was. I wanted to be Bruce Lee, or at least a version of what would be Kung Fu, or what have you, or the influences that I had, combined with some Spider-Man, maybe, some little Hulk there, So remember that you are a child, and a child wants to be happy, and improvement makes you happy. So challenge yourself to do something that you used to do 10, 20, 30 years ago, because we forgot those things because we got adult. No, man, I like to play. I like to play.
Absolutely.
So going back to the source of wanting to be happy, if you improved on your flexibility today, would you be happy? If you improved on strength or whatever it was, would you be happy? So, because remember, that's literally what it's all about, improvement. Constant and every improvement. But you might have to go into the past and eliminate what would be your ego of being an adult and have some fun. Because when you do that, you are going to be happy. That's what I'm doing on a daily basis.
Absolutely. No,
Challenge
you're
yourself.
absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for your encouragement that you continue doing, and for leading people into the right direction. Because it's martial artists, good martial art instructors are out there, and people. You have one in New York, and please go visit your school, because that's basically what we need. You know, we have to support one another and continue doing what you do, brother.
I appreciate it. We just begun. God bless. Best wishes.
Until next time.
AB, see you at the top, guys. See you at the top.